Hello, welcome to the Trews. I'm Russell Brand. Today on the Trews we're still talking about events in Paris and its global ramifications. Yesterday I averred that the answer is compassion and love, but I might be wrong. Perhaps there's other solutions. Let's see what Fox News are offering.
We need to kill them. We need to kill them.
Yes, actually. Kill them. There's the kill them technique.
You're in danger. I'm in danger. We're at war, and this is not going to stop.
No, if you keep doing that, it bloody well isn't.
Bomb them, and bomb them again.
That's the same energy, isn't it? It's the same energy of the murders. Judgment, hate, certainty in your own position, condemnation, the language of war. Surely the content has got to be what's important. If you're talking about hatred, then it doesn't matter if you're doing that in certain cultural garb. That's irrelevant. That's just the uniform.
After this week's brutal terror attacks in France, hopefully everybody now gets it.
Now will you join me in hating all mankind? Finally, does this terror attack show you that I was right all along? No!
And there's only one group that can stop this war. The Muslims themselves.
Or could it be all of us? Could it be all humankind together who try to reach out and stop fortifying these boundaries and borders between us?
Let them do the job. Let them have at it.
Can you not shout them? She's at least a bit African American, isn't she? Or do you not recognise that language? Do you not recognise that intonation?
We're directed by a political correctness that is so bizarre, so disconnected from reality that it does nothing but assist our enemy in our own destruction.
Now this is obviously hilariously funny, but in another way there's a toxicity to it, because Fox News, as we know, is owned by Rupert Murdoch, and it's not like he's just a daft, lovely old man, like, you know, like a sort of a racist granddad who's thinking, oh, don't worry, he's a granddad, he's from a different time. Different if your granddad owns a multi-trillion-dollar media organisation and has investments in energy companies that will benefit from further military activity abroad, that requires the malignment and hatred of Muslims and Muslim nations and the dehumanisation of Muslims to continue. Murdoch is part owner of an Israeli-American company, Genie Energy. Genie Energy. Woo, they even use a sort of Arabic idea, the genie. This company's been granted the rights to explore for oil on the Golan Heights, which is Israeli-occupied Syrian land. So there's always an economic angle. There's always an ideological angle. The company also has interest in shale gas in the United States and shale oil in Israel. Dick Cheney is on the company's advisory board. Look at the people that are behind these ideas. And again, remember, I've lost my bit of paper. Terrorism is wrong, killing people is bad, but that has to mean all types of terrorism. Who gets to define what terrorism means? Who gets to decide what violence is necessary? We said yesterday, like invisible violence in Pakistan, violence against brown people, ongoing violence in Iraq, that's got to be quantified in the same way as the cinematic, glamorous violence that happens in recognisable cities.
They don't operate the way we do. You can't negotiate, you can't mediate, and you can't bargain. You can't even reason with these people.
The way she talks is like she actually believes that this is a sort of, that we don't participate in the creation of these dynamics. It's not just ideologies this woman disavows, it's basic physics. You know, it's the way that energy works, the way that behaviour works. This person is prepared, the same as the terrorists, to cast aside human values. The right to free speech is important, but it isn't as important as we're all human beings together, let's find solutions together. What she's doing, whilst it's obviously not as violent or as gory or as terrible, it's equally damaging because it's insidious and has great reach, and she's operating on the behalf of people with their own ideologies. And there are consequences. The consequences, for example, include 50 anti-Muslim incidents across France since that event, and it should be anti-violence. You shouldn't go, what? So they were Muslim? No, the fucking religion isn't interesting to me. What's interesting is they're violent maniacs who are murdering people. And I don't like any violent maniacs murdering people. There are any. Yeah, there's these state-sponsored violent maniacs murdering people from the sky all over Pakistan and all over Iraq. Oh, who are they? Well, they're sponsored by Dick Cheney. They're sponsored by Rupert Murdoch. They're voted for by us. So there we can do something. There we do have purchase.
Are we morons?
Well, you are.
They can kill us. but we can't hurt their feelings? This political correctness will be the death of us.
She really believes it, doesn't she? She really, really believes it. What's going to happen to this woman when she dies, in the moment of death, where the individual identity evaporates, where you're confronted by the oneness of consciousness, the loss of distinction, the loss of separation that anatomy temporarily provides, and suddenly she's confronted with the truth that we are all one. Oh, it's God! Well, fuck you! I mean, what's she gonna say?
And when they want to shut us up, they call us Islamophobes.
I know, and like, you've done nothing to contribute to the validity of that argument by shouting at all Muslim countries are responsible, refusing to acknowledge the consequences of American and nations like Britain's military action in Middle Eastern countries, the constant demonisation of Muslims, the tacit encouragement of violence against Muslims, the willingness to judge an entire religion of 1.5 billion people by the actions of a few. You've done nothing to encourage that, love.
They have conquered us through interfaith dialogue. They have conquered us through immigration.
Hold on a minute! Just dragged immigration into it. Jesus Christ. This is dangerous.
Our forefathers gave up everything, their fortunes, their families, their lives, to create a government where free speech and freedom of religion were sacrosanct.
Yeah, there was a slave trade for a few hundred years after that, where people were kidnapped from their countries and subjugated, and we were told what? Oh, they don't matter because they're not human in the way that we're human. It was used to validate and justify the subjugation of people for America's economic advantage. But luckily things like that don't happen anymore.
This surrender, this refusal to even call it what it is an insult to my father and my grandfather and everyone who served in the armed forces, who fought to protect what is sacred to every American.
If there is anything that's sacred to, forget Americans, to all of us as human beings, then we have an obligation to disavow the hatred, yes, of the terrorists that conducted the murders in Paris, but also women and humans like Judge Jeannie. We can't, that's like, we've got to sort of see beyond the distinctions and camouflage of identity and language and recognise hatred for what it is. Hatred is an aspect of consciousness that's in us all, and we can't yield to it. We have to watch this and laugh at it. While Judge Jeannie and Fox News are hilarious and entertaining to watch, they're not doing this as a comedy programme. This is to promote the economic ideologies of the United States and Rupert Murdoch personally, who profits from the attitude of condemnation and dehumanisation of Muslims. And remember, there are consequences to this that are very, very serious. Violence and division are the consequence of programming and rhetoric like this, which benefits the terrorists themselves because they can now justify recruitment of more angry, disenfranchised people that are created by people like Rupert Murdoch, who benefit financially, and the kind of corporations that benefit financially from a divided and hateful world. That is the Trews. Don't participate in it. Withdraw from it. Be loving. Let's create our own systems, for God's sake.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.